Stop scrolling, because this is one of those true crime stories that sounds like a deleted script, but it actually happened in real life. This story is not just scary, it's literally buried alive levels of terrifying. Like, imagine you're a kid in 1976. You just went swimming. You're tired. You're probably thinking about snacks or whatever a kid thinks. And then suddenly your school bus gets blocked off by a van in the middle of nowhere. And before anyone can even process what's happening, masked men with guns take over the bus. Not a drill, not a prank, real life.
Chowchilla, California school bus kidnapping. 26 school children and their bus driver have vanished.
Hello, lovelies. How are we today? Real quick, I'm Summer. This is All Day Mystery. If you've been here before, welcome back. If you are new, welcome. I'm glad to have you. I like to do a little thing called true crime, mystery, sometimes a lot of mystery, just depends on the day. So if you're interested, stay tuned, have some coffee, have some tea. Let's do this. And also, I have another channel. I've been doing for a long time, but I like to do a little bit of everything, vlogging. I'm in cosmetology school, so I like to show that. I'm a massage therapist. I like to show that too. If you're interested in that, I do a little bit of everything. And then here recently, I did a ghost story, sort of, just a little bit. Had something happen on one of my videos. It was like a voice. So if you guys are interested in that, you can go back and it's Sincerely Summer, the channel. I found it very creepy. I don't know about you guys. Take a look. Let me know. All right. But take a seat. Let's go over the story. On July 15th, 1976, in Chowchilla, California, 26 kids and their bus driver, Ed Ray, were kidnapped in what became the largest mass kidnapping in U.S. history. And here's where it goes from scary to absolutely insane. The kidnappers, they didn't just hide them in a cabin or something normal-ish. No, they drive them around for hours like it's a horrifying field trip from hell, and then take them to a rocky quarry. And in that quarry, there is a buried moving truck. Weird. Yes, a literal truck underground turns into a makeshift bunker / prison situation. Like someone built the world's worst escape room and forgot the exit on purpose. They forced all the kids and the bus driver down inside it, and this one by one. No lights, no fresh air, just darkness, heat, and then panic for them. Kids crying, people are scared, and everyone is realizing this is actually happening. The kidnappers' plan: demand $5 million in ransom. But here's the embarrassing villain moment. They basically get defeated by AT&T and chaos, because the phone lines are so overloaded with panicking parents and the news station that they can't even properly make the ransom call. Is that karma for them? Like, imagine planning a high-level crime and getting blocked by all circuits are busy. That's crazy. Meanwhile, underground, Ed Ray and the older kids go full survival mode. No panic, just teamwork. They start stacking mattresses like it's Minecraft. Escape edition, climbing, pushing, digging, and basically saying, we are not dying in a buried truck today. Good, thank goodness for them. And somehow they break out. They literally force their way out of a locked underground truck and climb through the dirt like a horror movie. Characters who refuse to die. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine. Okay, so let that sink in. They were children buried underground in a sealed truck, and they escaped together. Yeah, that is the top-notch teamwork. Like, they really were like, we are not doing this today. No. So then they go and find help. And the craziest part, every single child survives. Thank goodness for that. But the plot twist energy, the kidnappers weren't broke criminals. Can you believe this? They were wealthy young men who basically treated this like a twisted fantasy that completely fell apart in real time, which they deserve. So, yeah, imagine surviving this, buried alive as a child, escaping, and then going back to school like, sorry, I missed homework. I was underground fighting for my life. And here's the part that really makes my brain do a double take. So, after everything, after 26 kids were literally buried underground in a metal truck, after they had to fight their way out like tiny action movie characters, the kidnappers, yeah, they didn't vanish into a horror movie ending. They went to prison for decades, and now all three of them are actually out. Yeah, actually out. And I wouldn't even thought about this. Like, yes, they served their time, okay? One got out in 2012, one in 2015, and the last one was in 2022. Very recent. So let me get this straight. You can orchestrate a large mass kidnapping in the US history, involve kids being sealed underground in a buried truck, terrorized an entire town, and eventually you still get a parole hearing and a release date. Imagine this. Imagine your kid gets kidnapped, and then a decade later, your kid's kidnapper gets out. Imagine that. I just, it's wild to me. I'm sorry. It's just wild. Um, yeah, that's genuinely wild. Meanwhile, those kids, obviously grown now, are probably still hearing a random loud noise and going, nope, I'm emotionally back in the dirt tunnel or truck, if you want to call it. And the most insane part in society just kind of goes, okay, you did your time. Like, imagine surviving being buried alive as a child, and then 40 years later, you hear, good news, they're free now. I would be panicking because I can only imagine how much therapy these children, these people probably still have to go through because of the situation that they went through. Being driven around for hours in the back of a truck, not being let out. As far as I know, they did not let them out. And I bet they didn't dare let them out because somebody would see a bunch of children come out of a van and want to go to the bathroom. Yeah. Can you imagine what that van smelled like? First of all, in the beginning, you don't get out. You have to go to the bathroom. I know I have to go to the bathroom every couple hours. And it's sooner than that. No, there's no way. There's no way. That's disgusting. That's wrong. The whole kidnapping is wrong, but wow. Wow. Like, sir, what? Okay. Quick question I need answered by the universe, the justice system, and honestly, whoever is in charge of the rules. How is this allowed? Like, how? And why? Why would you want that back in society? Bright ideas. Like, we're talking about this kidnapping case. It's a big case. And I never knew about it until I read about this like last week. And there's an actual movie on it. Kids literally kidnapped and buried underground in a sealed truck in 1976. Not a metaphor, not a movie, actual real life terror fuel. And like I said, they did make a movie out of this, as they should, to warn people that things do happen, not like they really had a choice in the matter. And the people responsible, they go to prison for decades, which, okay, yes, that part makes sense. But then fast forward and they eventually get parole and released. And I need to understand the logic here. Because somewhere in the system is a folder that says extremely serious crime. And also, eventually, maybe you can get home if enough time passes. Imagine being one of those kids growing up and hearing, don't worry, justice was served temporarily. And then it goes, released early. It goes, they were released early. Sir, Sir.
That I was. That kid stayed underground. That happened for each and every one of us.
And I get it. Parole is supposed to be about rehabilitation, behavior, time served, all that legal stuff. But my brain cannot fully compute how we go from buried alive underground in a metal box to you're free now. Just check in with parole. Have a nice day. It feels like the justice system looked at the most traumatic root experience possible and said, okay, but have you tried not doing that again? Cool. Anyway, freedom. And the wildest part is it's all technically legal, like fully approved through layers of hearings, reviews, paperwork, and people in suits going, yes, this is fine. Meanwhile, the rest of us are still stuck on they were buried underground in a truck. So yeah, I don't know who needs to hear this, but maybe we should not treat decades later like an undo button for something that sounds like a horror film. How do we actually know they're not doing this again? Do you guys ever think about that? Because that's all I can think about. Sure, this is, 2026. Things are a little bit different from, the 90s, from 1970s. But like, how do we know? We're talking about these kidnappers, people who literally planned and carried out a case where kids were taken and buried underground in a sealed truck. Not a misunderstanding, not a small mistake, a full-on coordinated, terrifying plan. And I'm pretty sure that's called premeditated. Could be wrong. So they go to prison for decades, which, yes, makes sense. And then eventually the system says, all right, you've had time to think about it. Here's your parole. And I just want to understand the confidence level here. Is there like a checklist that says, has not kidnapped anyone recently, seems chill in interviews, promised not to do it again, good behavior in prison, and we just trust that? Because my brain is stuck on the fact that at one point, these same people also woke up and decided, yes, let's kidnap a bus of children and bury them alive. So how do we go from that mindset to to making them a citizen again outside in the world? Like, what is the exact emotion software update that happens in between? And I get it, people can change. Rehabilitation is real. Parole boards exist for a reason. But it's just wild to think there's no alarm system that goes, hey, this guy's hobby used to be underground kidnapping. Maybe double check. Meanwhile, survivors are out here probably still flinching at loud noises. And the people who caused it are out like, hi, I'm reformed. Sir, I have follow-up questions. Realistically, they are not out here living normal public lives. In short, like nothing happened, they're not exactly posting selfies, starting podcasts that I have been able to find, doing interviews, that kind of thing. Like some of the, criminals that we have, but theirs are a little different, just a little different. These are people who are released under strict conditions after one of the most infamous crimes in U.S. history. And they've largely stayed out of the public eye. And honestly, that's the part that makes it even weirder for my brain to process, because there's no dramatic ending scenes, no movie style closure, just they've served decades and now they're out somewhere being monitored, I really hope. Meanwhile, the rest of us are still stuck on, you were literally involved in burying children underground in a truck, and now there's paperwork involved and your freedom. True crime is honestly just a constant wait. That's it loop. Anyway, so let me just get this straight. They kidnapped kids, buried them underground in a metal truck. Like, It was a DIY horror project. Yes, I'm still going over this because I can't get past this. Traumatized an entire town, did decades in prison, and now they're out on parole with paperwork and supervision. Like it's slightly overdue. It's like it's a slightly overdue library book. And I'm supposed to feel settled about that? No. And that's why I keep going over it. I don't know how you guys feel about it, but that's how I feel about it. I'm stunned. Cool. Cool. I guess the justice system is just like, you've served your time. Please don't underground bunker anyone else. Thanks. Love that for us. Anyway, I'll be over here triple checking every white van I see for the rest of my life, and probably buses too, to make sure there's nothing weird going on. So what do you guys think about this? Do you think it's fair to let them out after that? You think somebody could actually change? I mean, I do believe that people change. I do. And I'm not just trying to be like one-sided about this. But I mean, like I've said before, imagine that was your child. I couldn't even imagine it being my animal, like my dog, my cat. Like, no, I would never want you getting out. I know they didn't kill anybody, but what were they actually thinking? If those kids wouldn't have got out of that little underground truck, they would have they would have eventually suffocated. There's no way. The way the way you listen to it, they didn't have very much food. There was it was just a very, very enclosed area. No air, no food, no water. I mean, a body is supposed to be able to survive on without water, I think, for a week, or it's food, I believe. But water, I think, is only a couple days. How did they really think about this? Like, how? I don't think they really thought about this very well. They just dipped in and kept going with it. I don't know. It's wild to me. But if you are still here, I really appreciate it. Thank you for stopping by. I really hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed going over these because I have to talk to somebody about this. I mean, some of these stories are wild to me. Crazy. But if you can, give me a like, maybe a subscribe. Give me a comment. Tell me what you think. Do you think it's fair? As always, watch your back and don't talk to strangers.